Hey everyone, what's the crack? Back again with another Simagic product. This time it's a sequential shifter. This is the first time that we're looking at a Simagic product that isn't steering wheel related. So we've gone through the 3 wheelbases, the 2 wheel rims. This is a sequential shifter and I'm pretty excited. Today we're going to unbox it, mount it to the rig and give our first impressions. Let's do it. So normally I don't get too excited about sequential shifters. I don't run a dedicated sequential shifter, and I think the shifters that do both sequential and manual shifting that are on the market right now are more than adequate for most users. This is kind of cool though, because this is a standalone unit. It's a little bit beefier looking than a lot of the combo units, and it actually is a little bit reminiscent to me of the Quaife unit, which is obviously far more expensive than this. And you expect that to be far better, but I'd love to compare and see how this one is as well. Some extra cool features in this is this serves partly as a button box as well. It has a couple of buttons on there, and they're the really nice Simagic buttons that you guys, you can see them on the GT4 rim behind. I have a GT1 rim here, so I can quickly show you guys up close what I mean here. This is what the buttons look like, and when I click that button, there's a lovely little sound. I don't know if you guys can hear that sound. We'll go into more detail on that anyway, but those buttons seem to be the same buttons that are used on the sequential shifter. This was sent to me directly from Hong Kong, so you can see the box is a little bit beaten up, but it looks to be in overall in good condition. We'll open up the box. We'll get it mounted on the rig today. We'll get some first impressions videos done, see how loud it is, stuff like that, because one of the issues that we see with a lot of sequential shifters is that they're actually quite loud, which doesn't make them suitable for a home environment, but it does seem to be a little bit more geared towards, pardon the pun, it seems to be a little bit more geared towards the prosumer market and people who really rely on a sequential gearbox for drifting, rally, racing, all that. It even has a really cool LED indicator. Anyway, that's enough talking. Let's get this unboxed. So let's have a better look at this box. One of the first things that jumps out at me is there's a sticker on the edge of the box here on the outside. Let's just check. It says Q1 on it, Q1 shifter. Yeah, it's not hiding anything. This unit was sent directly to me from China. I'm unsure whether the version that the local distributors will get will have this sticker on there as well. As you can see, the box is a little bit damaged from transport, but let's see how it was packaged inside. From previous Simagic products, we could see that they're actually packaged quite well. The illustrations are nice. This is very consistent branding. The Simagic logo looks well. Simagic.com. The back is almost identical. There's a QR code here, which they've been doing a lot, which just brings you to, as far as I remember, just the various like Facebook or their website or whatever. Their manuals and documentation, in my opinion, have gotten quite good. At the start, they were non-existent. And here, those cheesy racing slogans that I love, all for racing there. And that's about it. Nothing else too remarkable. There is tape around the edge of it. I'm not sure if that's done because it was making a journey around the world. It could have been inspected for customs purposes. You can see the tape was actually broken. I've never opened this, so that's pretty common procedure as well. So let's do this. Let's open this up. There we go. Very consistent with the other Simagic packaging. We've got a very familiar looking repair card here. Again, with the QR codes, they've got really nice, really easy. All you do is point your camera on your phone on this, click, and then, so you don't take the photo, it'll prompt you, do you want to go to this website? And that'll actually bring you, and I'm sure that the information that's in here will be on those websites as well. And here we go. This is the what you guys came to see. That is pretty impressive looking. We've got 2 shift knobs. I didn't know that there were 2 different knobs with it. The unit itself, it looks, let's pull that out because that looks pretty incredible. And there's great weight in it. That's really, really tidy. Here we go. I think this is actually, like, I know it being a shifter, it's already you know, quite exciting, but this is pretty damn cool. I don't know if you guys can see that. There is an LED in here, that's your display, and it's got a couple of buttons. They're those nice little buttons that I was talking about. and one of them is highlighted. I think this one is for settings. You can actually change the color on these buttons as well, which is, again, I just think is a lovely luxury addition. In here, this I'd say sets the resistance. So it's actually got that very similar ball mechanism that we see with the quaif shifter, and this varies the resistance on that. It's got a USB port on both sides. As for that mechanism and its similarity to the quaif, I actually have the quaif shifter here as well, so you can see what I'm talking about. Now this is a far heavier unit, but you can see in here, you can see those ball bearings, or the ball bearing being pushed in onto that curved cog, rounded cog system. So that's how that kind of works. I can go into more detail on that. Here it's completely open, so we don't have a perspex window on here. Inside, the mechanism is quite exposed. I'd say it's probably too heavy for me to push it here right now, but you've got relatively good access to the internals as well. You can see the pivot points. Everything looks to be machined quite nicely. They've gone for, rather than it being a solid construction, because it's quite large, it's a load of plates that are put together, but they fit together excellently. And then we've got our buttons here as well, which are quite nice. This one's actually, I don't know if that one's slightly heavier or is that just my imagination, but and the Simagic branding in the handle here, which is also really nice. Now let's have a look at those shift knobs. So this one is, they're both relatively light. They actually feel like the weight of like wood. This one has a little bit of a wood grain effect on it. It might just be very lightweight aluminium. There are no scratches or anything on it. It looks really good. It looks really nice, high quality. Obviously you've got different heights with those, which is quite nice. So let's get one of them installed. Let's go for the smaller one. I'd say that's probably the one that I'm more likely to run on my rig. So that just pops on here, and there's a lot of thread there, I guess because that gets the main amount of force. And then once that's on quite well. So other than that, in the box we get a USB cable, which seems to be quite long. The USB, the part that terminates in here, is at 90 degrees. Again, they've got two USB ports on here, which is quite nice depending on which way you mount it. We'll go through that in a lot more detail. That looks quite good. And what's in here? A little toolkit, a couple of T-slot nuts, which is quite nice to see as well, for actually installing it on your rig. I reckon what they've done is, whereas the quaif has this type of mounting system where you've got two mounting points for it, so you need those little corner, those 90-degree brackets. What they've done with Simagic is it's a narrower unit, but they've actually made it so that you can mount it in the center. You can put it straight into that channel. So that for me would be the ideal mounting position. It takes less time to mount as well. So let's get it mounted like that and see how sturdy it is. That does seem to make quite a bit of noise. We'll see how it fits to the rig. Let's get it mounted up. Let's offer it up here. The very first issue that I can see myself facing is that my cup holder currently sits here. I've got a dedicated shifter and a dedicated handbrake here. So they're most likely gonna have to maybe, I don't know, move at some stage, or firstly I'm gonna see if I can actually make it work like this. That might be a little bit close to me, and if I'm shifting gears with this might actually get in the way slightly. So that's all something that I'm gonna have to just experiment with and see what I can do, what I can get away with there. First thing I'm gonna have to do is just remove this cup holder. So the easiest thing for me here is probably just to sit in the rig. So I'm gonna just hop in the rig here and see if I can get, let's see. Now, where this would sit might be a little bit close. Yeah, if I'm going into like 5th gear or whatever, if that's here, I might be hitting off that. Now, it might not be an issue. I think I should try it because that's the easiest. I don't want to spend ages and ages configuring my rig. So I think that this is a good position for it as I'm driving. Might be a little bit close. In an ideal world, I would have it down here, but I have a shifter, I have a handbrake. I like the idea of having a sequential shifter because my V&M shifter is just difficult to get into sequential mode, and this seems to be just a better solution for that. I think I'm going to try it here. There will be some compromise. As you can see, as I switch gears, my wrist may hit off that lever, and as I pull the handbrake's not too bad because I can kind of avoid that. Once it's all mounted up, it might make more sense, but if I'm going like this and changing gears, my watch is going to be hitting off that, and there's no easy way to just get rid of that. Now the nice thing is, with the way that this will mount, it would potentially, I could potentially slide it out of the way or even just disconnect it when I don't need it, but that kind of defeats the purpose of having it there all the time. So look, that's something that I'll figure out. So without the shift knob, it actually removes a significant amount of height. I wouldn't really notice it there, but the shift knob does screw on. It would be really cool if they had a system like what V&M has here. So that has a little collar that loosens, and then you just pull that off. I'd love to be able to do that with this device as well, but that's not possible right now. So when it's not in use, I'd love to just be able to pop that knob off, and then it's just not there, and when I need it, I could just pop that knob on. That would definitely make a big difference, but for now, let's see how it goes. So we can see more Simagic branded goodies there. There's a little ball in there. I'm curious as to what that's about. I'm not sure. I'll have to dig into that a bit more, but yeah, that ball's a bit curious. Let's open this up. What I'm reaching for here is 2 of the T-slots. So you seem to get plenty of them, and they're all the same. And we've got some bolts in there as well. I might use some of the nicer style bolts, the ones that kind of match what else is on my rig. So let's slot that in there. So I'm going to use the supplied USB cable, but one thing that strikes me straight away is that this part needs to be facing up. So if I want it on that side, it is going to go back before it goes forward, which I guess isn't the end of the world. It would be great to have it here, but I'm just worried about my elbow potentially hitting it here. It probably makes more sense for me having it on the left hand side to have it over here, but if I have it on the left hand side, that cable will just need to loop a little bit like this. It's definitely not the end of the world, but it would be even nicer if it was there. In fact, it would be nicer if these USB ports were at the front or the back, so that you could choose, because the side is still a little bit exposed. So here we go, USB port is in. I will tidy up the cables a bit, but let's go for the first startup. I'm just gonna plug this in here. So we've got white lights to start up. There's a green LED, and there we go, the LED display comes on as well. Now that's a blue. I'm not sure if you can actually change the color of that, but that blue is not too intrusive. And our buttons here all seem to be quite cool. Okay, so that's interesting. So even when when the PC is off, this still tracks. So this doesn't rely on SimHub or anything like that. And that is loud. That is damn loud. My wife is going to be thrilled with that. Similar with the ProSim, that just seems to be something that happens with these shifters. They are just loud, but that's pretty amazing. If you go back, oh, that brings you back to neutral. Okay, so neutral. Okay, very, very cool. So quick way to get back to neutral, and then these two, I guess, are assignable. We'll see how that all works. This cable at the side, it's never going to be too beautiful. It's always going to stick out, and even that USB port, it doesn't go in further than that. It goes into about here. So yeah, not beautiful. You can probably get a nicer cable though. USB cables are easy to get. So, and we'll just have to stick that here somewhere or wedge it, but it's really, the problem starts back here. We just want that to be even like that in a straight line. You could stick it to the bottom of the shift of the V&M shifter, but we'll see how that goes. I can also see straight away that there seems to be no way to really switch this off other than plugging it out. I could be wrong. There may be ways to switch it off, but right now my PC is off and this is still on. So we'll see what the story is there. So one of my favorite things about the GT4 rim is that you can actually change the color of these buttons, and it seems like the shifter has that as well. I'll just show you quickly here. I'll put this into the customization mode, but once it's in there, you can switch to whatever color you want and set up that configuration. So we can actually do it as well down here. Let's switch to the shifter. So I've not read any manuals, but I do remember seeing in the video, I think you hold this button. There we go, that's off. That's blue, red, green, and we've got cyan, yellow, and we've got some pink. So blue, pink, a little bit of a squeak. Not sure if you can hear that there. It's a tiny bit of a squeak in this button, but you won't be pressing it too much either. But damn cool that you can change those to properly match your rig. So we've already got some blue here. I like the whole pink and blue thing. So having pink in here, now you can't change the color of this button. That one stays white, but I think that's pretty neat, pretty nice. Little touches like that tend to justify larger expenses for me in general. It seems so superficial. I mean, it is completely superficial, but look, we're doing this for a reason. We want to enjoy it. And when I walk past that, when I look at that I'm gonna just enjoy that. Okay, so first thing we want to do is set up our shifter. So gearbox here, just gonna go upshift is there. That is a lovely sound. That is a really, really good sound. It's far less resonating than the ProSim. It is still extremely loud though. So that we definitely have to bear that in mind. Downshifting, okay, done. And I don't want that. Is there a button? Can you map a button in iRacing for going to neutral? That's something that I just never do. No, gear shifter is up there. I'm not sure. There may be a way to map to go to neutral, but right now it doesn't seem like it. Let's see if the game actually will register that, because on the shifter we can upshift, downshift and that, and then just hit the neutral button. But let's see. Okay, let's put on the gloves. Yeah, when you hit neutral here, I was afraid of that. There's like a synchronicity thing. So I'm in second gear right now, but the display is reading neutral. So that is one of the drawbacks. There we go, it's in sync now again after going to reverse and going all the way down. So you just have to avoid pressing that neutral button. I've actually turned on auto blip for this car. So far, the position where I have it is pretty good. And that feels like a really good shift. I am of course still running the Alpha Mini here, because that review is still ongoing as well. It really does feel good, guys. Personally, as a consumer, I'm happier with that than with the ProSim. The ProSim is just, it's heavier. That said, I can't see why you would need more than this. This is already too loud and probably too heavy for me to use while the kids are asleep. So let's jump in for a little bit of Rallycross here. We're in the Fiesta at Lucas Oil Raceway here. So let's jam it into first there. How does this, I can't remember how this track goes exactly, but my driving is not the point of this race, of this session. So we can immediately, actually we've already encountered an issue here. We can see that when you have a misshift in game, you can see that the unit here, the display is on 1, whereas on screen we can clearly see that it says 2. So whenever there's a misshift, or maybe a place in the game that you can't actually shift, so let's try and recreate that. Maybe a downshift at high revs. There we go. You can see that it actually just misreads it, or it doesn't read it at all, because it's completely independent. It's not software dependent at all. So now that's in neutral, while in game we have it at 2. So unfortunately, as cool as this display is, that renders the display pretty much useless if you can't do a shift. Now in real life you probably have a lockout of sorts that you can't press that you can't press the gear shifter, but this is a sim after all. You can see it says neutral right now. The only way to reset that is to go back all the way to neutral, maybe press the neutral button, or go to reverse and keep pressing it until the game is reversed, and then they're in sync again. But that's a little bit of a pity. Would have been nice if they had it all in sync. Let's try and do some driving in anger regardless. That's too close to the wall. It does feel great. It feels like it feels like you're engaging a gear. So absolutely nothing wrong with how it feels. There we go, it just happened again. Tried to do that downshift. Oh, that's slippy there. Hit the wall. So I can't actually see the display, which is I guess another issue. The display looks really cool, but in real life you wouldn't put a display there because it wouldn't be used at all. So I think that might annoy some people, and I'm not sure if the hardware supports it, but I'd like to see the ability actually to be able to turn off that indicator, because for those who are fairly particular, that may be enough to put them off the product, that's not perfectly in sync all the time. So that's definitely worth considering. But it's a very pleasant driving experience for sure. Oh, don't hit that wall. Do hit the wall. Alright, one more lap. Famous last words. Oh. Jeez, it's a handful. I'm of course using the Simagic Alpha still as well. The Alpha Mini even. And I haven't set it up at all for this car. But that feels, you know, the shifting experience is absolutely, it's brilliant. One thing I want to check here in the menus is I just want to, and as you can see, when you teleport back to the pits, when you go back to the pits, this doesn't reset to neutral either. So it really is a kind of I don't know, it's one of those things that you need to definitely be aware of before you buy it. So let's jump in and just see which buttons are actually mappable. Go to options here. Let's just, for the sake of it, use the toe to pits. Can we assign this? Yes, we can. Can we assign that? Yes, we can. We can actually assign the neutral button. We cannot assign this button though. So the neutral button, even though it sets this to neutral, it is also a mappable button, which is good to know. It has 3 buttons in total that are mappable. So that's nice, that's good. It is just a shame that that indicator doesn't respond to software. As far as I know, maybe it does. I have SimHub running, it's not automatically picking up SimHub, but it would be cool if that did respond to SimHub. Another thing that's worth noting, even though it does have calibration software, I'm not going to go through that calibration software today. There's a tiniest bit of play when it's stationary like that, which is fine. You get that in most shifters, you get that in real shifters as well. You get it just that little bit, but the actual engagement is super crisp. It doesn't need any calibration at all. For those of you wondering that it sounds loud, yes, it is quite loud. If you're in a home setup and you have other people in the house, they will hear this when you're using it. So that is another huge factor to consider. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just play with this and see if I can get that to make less noise, I guess. So this is a size 24. So I have a 24 here. That should just slot on nicely here. There we go. Now, okay, so that has loosened. Now the whole thing can loosen. We can see there's a little C-clip. There's the main bolt here, and then this just allows you to adjust it. You can adjust that by hand. So you can see the initial click when I start going down gears and up gears. So when I go up gears, you hear a big click. Now this is quite loose right now. As you tighten that, it engages more. So it's that big initial click. That's the thing that actually makes all the difference. If I wind this right out, then there's absolutely no noise, but you miss that immersion, you miss that feedback that you get. So as for the actual click, let's wind it right up. That just clicked. That's as tight as it goes. Well, actually, I might be able to make it tighter. No, that's as tight as it goes. And that's pretty much how it comes out of the box. It's quite tight like that. I'm not actually sure if loosening it gives any more or less. Well, as I loosen that, it doesn't sound like it's doing any less. It's only when you get to a certain point when you no longer get that click engagement. So it seems like that isn't as accurate for changing. I can also see that that's actually quite scratched up. You guys probably can't see it on the video. Got some scratches on there after using my tools there. So that's a bit of a pity, but so that's very soft aluminium. But yeah, this, there seems to be no way to, you either have that sound or you don't. That seems to be the way it is. So there we have it. That is the Simagic SQ1 sequential shifter. Lots of positives to comment on, a couple of negatives as well. That indicator for the little LCD indicator that shows you what gear you're in is great as long as it stays in sync. Once it gets out of sync, it's a little bit useless. The thing is, when I'm actually using it, as I was shifting, I wasn't looking at that indicator at all. So it looks great on photos, looks great for other people, but for a sim racer, if you're only using it for yourself, I would nearly prefer an option to maybe turn that off. It's very cool, it's a novel idea. I love that they're innovating, but the real useful thing on this sequential shifter, other than the fact that it performs great as a sequential shifter, it actually, I mean, even at this early stage, I prefer it to the Quaife shifter, to the ProSim shifter. I do think the ProSim shifter is probably more what, you know, the top level pros will go for, but the Simagic is very, very close. I mean, it's 90% of the way there, and the fact that I can make it quiet as well just gives it even more appeal. Even though it's a less immersive shifting experience, the fact that I can make it quiet and that I have a sequential shifter there all the time does kind of appeal to me. The real star of the show, I think, is the button box, the little buttons on it. They're super handy for like returning to the pits or even lights and wipers, stuff like that. It's a little bit of a pity that, and Simagic has actually done it on all the recent GT4 wheel and on the sequential shifter. The buttons have predefined kind of logos on them, like lights or whatever. I preferred, like with the old one, if we look at the GT4 rim here, we can actually see that all of these buttons have letters on them. And when they have a letter, it just makes them a little bit more generic. You can assign them to whatever you want. I'd like to see that on the gearbox as well. The neutral button you can assign, even though it does change that display. So if you're using that for anything, obviously if you have a sim where that neutral button is mappable, then great. Maybe there is a way, I don't know right now. But and that does make the display somewhat more useful, but the display isn't in your line of sight. You're not looking down at your gearbox to see what gear you're in. You're looking at your on-screen HUD or whatever, or if you have a dash, you're looking at that. So overall, I'm very happy with it. It looks great on the rig, it feels great, it performs extremely well. It's very exciting to use, it's very engaging, very immersive. I can't see anybody who buys one being disappointed, as long as they're aware that it can be quite loud. As I say, you can dial out that loudness, but it does take away from the feel. That's pretty much my first impressions on this device. Do let me know what you think in the comments below. If you've had a chance to use one or whatever, please, this is where people come for information. If you have any information that I have not yet discovered, because this is only a first impressions video, there will be a longer review. If you have any more information, do share in the comments below. I stream every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 o'clock. It is a little bit unlikely that you're going to see me using this shifter in anger on those streams, because my kids sleep straight above my sim room, and it would be just a little bit noisy. I can dial out that noise. It does take away from the experience a little bit. That's all I know right now. I'm Lawrence. Thanks a million for watching, and I'll chat to you later.